This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
It just might be the greatest sports franchise in the history of sports. A place where legends are made, and there's always something to talk about. Get ready to immerse yourself in pinstripes. Start spreading the news, hosted by Paul Semendinger and E.J. Fagan, a couple of doctors with a prescription for Yankee fever. And now, here's Dr. Paul Semendinger and Dr. E.J. Fagan. Get ready to start spreading the news.
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, and here we are live on Labor Day. I wish everyone a happy Labor Day or a Labor Day evening, Labor Day night. I hope you had a great weekend. I hope you enjoyed it all, and I'm sure everyone is looking back to getting in the swing of things. It's always a little sad for me when summer ends. This is the Start Spreading the News Yankee program, which is brought to you by Artemisia Publishing. Artemisia, a fantastic publisher located in the United States of America, a traditional publisher, and the publisher of many of my works, including The Least Among Them, Scattering the Ashes, 365.2, and From Compton to the Bronx, Roy White's autobiography. E.J. Fagan will be joining us in just a moment, but in the meantime, you can go to apbooks.net to browse their extensive collection of great books, including the ones written by me, which are found at fine booksellers online. Anywhere books are sold, you can get any of those great books from Artemisia. Just a reminder, this program also coincides with the great Yankee site, the very best Yankee site, Start Spreading the News. You can find us at startspreadingthenews.blog. We have been putting up original articles every single day without fail. Not one, not two, but at least three on 99% of the days since October 23rd, 2017. Nobody has put out that kind of content that regularly, that type of high-level great stuff. You can find it all on Start Spreading the News. Now, EJ is almost here, but I just want to walk through, because EJ and I are going to talk through this in a moment. The Yankees' schedule coming up, it is going to be something else. And I just had it up and I just lost it. So I'm going to pull it right back up again. This coming week, or these coming weeks, really a week and a half, are going to determine a whole lot. Starting tomorrow, the Yankees play 3 games in Houston. Then they come home for 3 games against the Blue Jays. They get a day off next Monday night. They play 3 against the Detroit Tigers. And then they head up to Boston for 3. That last Boston game ends on September the 14th. After that, it's easy. 3 against the Twins, 4 against the Orioles, 3 against the White Sox, and 3 against the Orioles. So this is sort of the gauntlet the Yankees have to get through between now and the middle of the month, September 14th. After the 14th, things get easy. And so that's what we want to start talking about. Here he is, the great E.J. Fagan. E.J., how are you?
Doing great, Paul.
So
I have a ballpark report this week. I was at the Yankees-White Sox game on Sunday. One game they lost, unfortunately, but I was there. Guaranteed Rate Field, not my favorite ballpark in the world, but it was a nice game. We've talked about this ballpark before. It's a modern but very soulless ballpark. It was built in 1991. kind of missed the Camden Yards kind of revolution in ballparks. The thing that just kills me, I talked about this on the Bronx Beat podcast yesterday, but I got to repeat it. Chicago has a famously beautiful skyline, right? And they built Guaranteed Rate Field to face away from it, right? When you walk out the door, you walk onto the ramp to, I was in the upper deck. I walk down that 5-story ramp to walk out, and you have this absolutely gorgeous view of the Chicago skyline. There's like little photo opportunities that you can take, right in front of the facing away, but facing the other direction. I don't understand it. It is insane to me to this day that you don't have that background behind your baseball field.
Now, the designer of that field is also the designer of Yankee Stadium.
I think we figured that out at one point, but yeah, it is. It's an ugly. It's a boring stadium, right? It is.
As is Yankee Stadium.
The food is bad. The layout is very boring. The field, the look, from behind home plate looking out onto the field is fine, I think. But again, just you got the most beautiful skyline, in the country. Just flip it 90 degrees. That's all you gotta do, right? Just flip it a little bit, and then you get your Chicago skyline behind you.
Now, a couple of years ago, maybe a year ago, you talked about the fact that they were talking about a new ballpark for the White Sox.
It doesn't look likely at this point. There's another the site that they were looking at looks like someone else is going to be building there, though I don't think it's out of the question still. I think Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner of the White Sox and Bulls, and I think that's it, kind of sucks. And so he doesn't want to pay money for a new ballpark, and Illinois and Chicago aren't about to give him $1 billion. So I think the White Sox are probably sticking around
at the same spot. Is there any possibility, looking at the field and the way the stadium is structured, that they could someday just reorient the field?
Well, so there are parking lots in the other direction, right? So if you were to put another field in this spot, I think you would do that. I just don't think they would. It's not really a bad neighborhood, just kind of a nothing neighborhood. And so I think if you're going to spend the money to build a new ballpark, you're going to build it somewhere close to downtown, and you're gonna kind of create the entertainment district that all the new ballparks are being built around, including Wrigley Field in Chicago. Which by the way, which I think it is the location that they would potentially put it in. It's a great location. You can't get the skyline; it's too close to the skyline, actually, and so you'll never get that view, I think, from a Chicago ballpark.
Which is too bad. So, EJ, what do you think about this coming schedule, the gauntlet that the Yankees have to go through?
It's a little rough. I think the Astros might not be all that good right now, and so I think that part of the schedule might be a little overstated. But the Blue Jays and the Red Sox have had the Yankees number this year.
They have. So, let me give you a couple of interesting numbers. Last 10 games: Astros 6-4, Blue Jays 5-5. Tigers 4-6. Now the Red Sox have been hot again. They're 7-3. But of those 4 teams, 3 of them are just basically playing 500 baseball.
Yeah, there's no real super team in the American League this year. There's no real great team in the American League. You got a lot of guys who are going to win, if they're lucky, 90 games. And I think that's not a good thing, right? It's not that you can't say the Yankees are just as good as the other American League teams, and they basically are. But you also can't say that they are succeeding in any real way, right? I think a lot of these teams have kind of fallen flat in their faces. The Baltimore Orioles were a lot of people's pick to be the best team in the American League East this year. But there's still a lot of the teams that look like they were kind of on the up and up last year. They've either had injuries or just players not playing very well. Like Kansas City lost some of their great pitchers. Cleveland's had a really rough year. Seattle had a great trade deadline. It's been kind of bad since. It's a pretty mediocre set of teams, and there's only 6 of them. Beyond those 6, the teams get even worse. The American League is pretty weak right now.
Right. So, I mean, a lot of people are making a big deal about this gauntlet that the Yankees are going to go through. But right now, the Yankees are tied basically with the Red Sox for the first wild card spot. They're 3 games over the Mariners, 5.5 games. The Mariners would be the last team, but they're 5.5 games over the Rangers, 6 games over the Royals, and 7.5 games over the Guardians. it seems as though the Yankees, especially with that end
they've
of
made
the
the playoffs.
They're making the playoffs.
The seeding is the question, right? The division is still up for grabs. And, if the Yankees can get over kind of their bugaboo against some of these teams, again, that last 2 weeks of the season should be really nice for them. So that's the question, right? Like, is it a permanent thing that the Red Sox can beat the Yankees, the Blue Jays can beat the Yankees? I don't know. I'm a big believer in big sample sizes, and over the course of 140 games so far, these teams are all basically the same. And I think you could argue that the Yankees have faced tougher competition than like the Tigers, for instance.
Well, you can, right? The Tigers are in the Central,
Yep.
and the Yankees are I've made this point a couple times on Start Spreading the News on the blog over the last week or so. Yeah, they're facing bad teams, but you have to play those bad teams. They're part of your schedule.
Yep.
So instead of getting them in July or June or May or whatever, they're getting them now. And the other teams obviously have already played them. So you can discount the wins, but you still have to play those teams, and they're beating those teams. And if the Yankees had beaten the White Sox 3 out of 4 in the middle of June, and then the Twins, however many they won against the Twins, and however many they will win in the beginning of July, nobody would say, well, they only beat up on the bad teams, because they would just be interspersed with other teams. But the fact that they're all coming together at the end, that's not the Yankees' fault. They still have to play those teams.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's what the 162 game schedule's for, right? To kind of figure out who's best and who's worse. I just think the way I think about this division right now, it's like I think the Blue Jays aren't very good. I think they're lucky to be where they are. I look at the talent on this roster, and it's just like it's not even close to the talent that's on the Yankees roster. And they've won more games than the Yankees, but the run differential is half of what the Yankees run differential is. You look at their pitching staff. It's like Kevin Gausman, Chris Bassett, Jose Barrios. None of them are having good seasons. They're all having average. They're all average major league pitchers. Max Scherzer's not being too great. I mean, the bullpen's been bad. You look at their hitters. Their number one home runner has 24 home runs, which means like the Yankees have 5 guys better than that. Vlad Guerrero Jr. is not having a great year. George Springer's having a good year, mostly a good first half. I really do think the Yankees should be better than this Blue Jays team. And I think what's probably going to happen is they're going to gain games on the Yankees. The Yankees are going to gain games in the Blue Jays throughout this last month. Will they gain 3 games? Yeah, that's a lot. 3 games is a lot. I think the Fangraphs gives us like about a 20% chance of that. And then you look back at all those times we've complained about Aaron Boone's decision making and the organization's decision making, and you go like, man, they could have squeezed out 1 or 2 more games there, right? Like if the Yankees lose the AL East by 1 game, and then they lose the bye, so they have to go to a first round wild card, and they lose a 2-game series, with a 3-game series against the Red Sox with Garrett Crochet pitching, one of those games. Like I just think you'll have to look back at all those kind of things we've been complaining about and say like this was a season that got away from them. Hope that doesn't happen. Like I think we still very much could win this division. The Yankees, I think we'll talk about. I think despite playing, even though they're playing not that great teams, I think have looked great lately, and maybe they'll actually keep that hot streak going against the good teams.
Speaking of doing great lately, I mean, obviously they lost that last game against the White Sox. But how's this for a week? 7 runs, 10 runs, 5 runs, 11 runs, 10 runs, 10 runs, and 5 runs.
Yeah. And about the same number of home runs, right? And I mean, it's been a power week, and it's been a week from all different guys. It's interesting. This week, actually, Giancarlo Stanton's been kind of cold.
He did. Yeah.
Almost had a home run against the White Sox. I was there. I thought I was out when it went to the wall. It was just barely caught. Right, had a home run stolen. But Stanton has slowed down. But a lot of guys are hot right now. I mean, Cody Bellinger has been really hot. Ben Rice has been hot. Judge seems like he's back to it. Grisham, Jazz,
even Volpe.
Volpe. I'm not going to call it hot. If you look at his numbers since he was rested, they're not great. But he's gotten some hits. His defense has gotten better. I think the thing that's really hot is the pitching staff, right? If you want to say like, okay, what was the problem for 2 months? There's a lot of hitting, but like they still scored some runs. There were individual hitters that you would have wanted to play better, but they were scoring runs. They just couldn't pitch. Like they lost their bullpen, they lost their starting pitching. And Max Fried is now at 2 good starts in a row, including one against the Red Sox and maybe three good starts in a row. I forget. Cam Schlittler has an ERA under 2 over his last month.
And we're going to talk a little about Cam because I'm going to ask you to do a breakdown of him.
Right. And I thought Luis Gil, at least from my position in the crowd, looked pretty good. So like if you're starting to have a much more respectable pitching staff, then if you're scoring a lot of runs, you're not going to lose that many games. I still, we can still question whether or not this is a playoff staff. But I think in terms of like winning a bunch of games day in, day out in the regular season, pretty impressed. And they're going deeper into games. And so your bullpen, even though it still can be a little shaky at times, at least is a little better rested. They're scoring, when they're scoring runs in bunches, you don't have to pitch your top guys. So I don't think there's a lot of bad news to talk about. And so the only problem is like we've been here before, and all these teams that we're about to play have beaten us.
Max Fried's had 2 good starts in a row. His last start, 7 innings, 1 earned run. The start before, 6 innings, no runs earned or otherwise. The start before that, he went 5 innings and allowed 7 runs, all earned. So it's 2 good starts in a row. His last 13 innings have been,
and one of those against the Red Sox, right? So so that helps.
He beat Washington, beat the Red Sox. Well, actually lost to the Red Sox 1-0.
Yeah,
but it was a good start.
It was a good start. I think just one thing about Fried that has bothered me all season is it's like his Statcast numbers have never really held up to the ERA. And I worry a little bit that he was kind of pitching over his head for a bit, and then he has the blister, things aren't perfectly right, and so that can explain some of the long bad stretch he had. But also maybe it's just regression, right? Maybe he just hasn't been pitching all that well all year, and the ERA was just low because of good luck. I don't know. Maybe he can also be a guy who's better with men on the bases than men off the bases. That's not crazy. But his xERA this year is 3.73, which is not bad, but it's not good either. It makes me a little bit worried about Fried.
The guy I want to talk about is Cam Schlittler. As you break down numbers and you look deep into guys, that he has been just crazy. Why don't you give us some of those advanced numbers? I'll pull up Cam's simple numbers.
Sure. So Schlittler has, I think, the highest fastball velocity among a starter in the majors right now, or over the last since he came up. So he's throwing 98. His xERA is 3.57, which is top third, right? It's not incredible, but top third. I suspect if we look at that xERA, in fact, I'll do it real quick. Over the last month, it would be really good. He strikes guys out. He has good control, or his control's gotten better after a bad start. Kind of a fly ball guy. Like there's nothing elite in the profile except for the fastball velocity, but there's also nothing alarming in the profile, right? Like it's not that. I don't think it's that complicated, right? I think we said this when he was a prospect. He's 6'6", he throws 98. Like that's fine. Like you're going to be fine for the most part. And then what I think we've seen over the last, especially the last like 4 starts. He's starting to strike guys out. And I think he's been using his cutter as a strikeout pitch more. And I think it's just been really impressive. I mean, he's throwing 92-mile-an-hour cutters. Like it's the kind of thing you can do when you throw that hard and when you're 6'6".
All right. So this is the last 5 starts, 5 innings, 2 runs, 5 innings, 1 run, 6.2 innings, no runs, 6 innings, no runs, 6 innings, 1 run. And as you pointed out, his last 3 starts, 6 innings, 8 strikeouts, 6 innings, 8 strikeouts, 6.2 innings, 8 strikeouts. So he's striking guys out. He's just been dominating. It's been fun to watch.
Yeah, and you understand if he has an adjustment period, right? So you say those first couple of starts, it makes sense. Wasn't all that great. Since August 1st, on top of the numbers you just said, his xWOBA is 288. He has barely allowed any barrels. Expected batting average of 211. 26% whiff percentage. I mean, these are really good numbers, right? I'd say they stop short of elite, right? So you want elite, you'd say that whiff percentage goes up a little bit. You'd say that control gets a little bit better. But a 288 xWOBA, that's an ERA of like 3. That's pretty good. I think he's definitely a playoff starter at this point. Probably your number 3 starter.
I was going to ask you that because Luis Heel seems to be coming around. You watched him pitch, right? Was he the starter on Sunday?
He was a starter on Sunday. I mean, I thought he looked good. He had some quick innings. He had a lot of really bad swings by the White Sox against him. I think that Heel. It's really tough to start midseason, right? We saw when Rodon had a very similar injury and missed a similar amount of time. He had a lot of trouble coming back and being effective. Some other players have done it. Like Clark Schmidt, for instance, has come back and been effective with some early season injuries. Garrett Cole last year. So it's like his fastball velocity's been down a tick. His control hasn't been great. But you go like, okay, like he needs some time. He deserves some time to prove if he still has it. I think over the last three or four starts, he's been good. He's been kind of bend not break.
Yeah, well, here you go. 5.1 last 5 starts, starting on August the 9th, going to most recent. 5.1 innings, 2 runs, both earned. 5.1 innings, 1 run earned. 5 innings, 2 runs, 1 earned. 5 innings, 1 run earned. 5.1 innings, 2 runs, both earned. I mean, that's 5 very good starts in a row. The only thing I'm seeing is he's not going as deep in the games and he's not striking out as many batters as Schlittler.
And that could be the late spring training thing. I think Heel is probably a better weapon out of the bullpen this year. Again, like he's not fully built up. I don't completely trust him. I really think that there's a world where he starts a playoff game and he walks 5 guys, right? I mean, that's just kind of who Luis Heel's always been. There's been stretches, especially like the first 3 months of last year, where he walked, instead of walking a ton of guys, he walked just a lot of guys. And because he's so hard to hit, I think it was at that time the hardest baseball starting pitcher to hit in the game. He was great, right? I mean, we were talking about him starting the All-Star game last year. And since the second half and then this year, like the stuff is down a tick. He's still hard to hit. He's still good. But I wonder if you say, like, you're going in for 1 inning, air it out, pitch as hard, throw as hard as you can. I wonder if you can get some like Dylan Betances entry. I think about Phil Hughes on the 2009 team. I mean, that type of energy, I wonder if you can get out of Luis Heel. And, then the question is basically like, I don't think it's a competition with Schlittler. I think Schlittler has just been clearly better for all the good stuff that Hill has. I mean, Hill's fastball moves more than Schlittler, but Schlittler throws harder and has had more recent success. Hill won the Rookie of the Year last year, but the ERA was, in the mid 3s. It wasn't like he had like a Paul Skeens kind of season. And so I don't see any reason why he gets the benefit of doubt. I think the question is it him? Is it Warren? Is it Ryan Yarbrough? Is there some piggyback situation, especially in the division series? This is if the Yankees get the bye, if they win the division, they don't have to play the wild card. This is a decision you punt to the championship series. If they don't get the bye, well, there's a situation where they might have to pitch your number 4 starter as your game 1 starter in the division series. And that means your game 1, I believe, and your game 4 starter. So you're saying you're really betting a lot on a Hill or Warren or bullpen game or Yarbrough or whatever if you go to the wild card series. That's why it's so important to win the division. Because if you win the division and get the bye, then you get to pitch Rodon and Fried for 4 of the 5 games of the division series. Or at the very least, you hope that you can win the wild card game in series in 2 games. Because then Schlittler would pitch 2 games in the DS.
I can't disagree with anything you're saying. Let's move on to September call-ups. Kind of routine. Yarbrough.
Well, I think Escara, because of the way that Ben Rice is kind of the role Ben Rice is playing in this team, is like a sneaky important call-up. We have a lot of games where you have where you have Ben Rice and Austin Wells in the same game. You have no catcher on the bench. And that's been, in a way, good for the Yankees, right? I think that means that like their overall catching position has been better than it would be because you have a starting caliber catcher in every game. But it makes it difficult to do some strategic stuff. They're both lefties. You always have that situation that you have to worry about with an emergency catcher. I just think having the extra catcher on the bench will allow them to kind of use their big bench coming soon, especially with Austin Slater coming back soon. you would like them to be able to pinch hit. So let's say both Wells and Rice start the game. You'd like to see, say, Wells or Rice isn't great against lefties, get pinch hit against a lefty reliever for a Slater or a Goldschmidt or an Ahmed Rosario. That's kind of how this roster is built up. Rice just kind of makes that a little bit. Having Rice and Wells in the lineup just makes that a little bit harder. You don't really want to pinch hit for one of your catchers. So I think that will matter a little bit. I mean, again, it's not very exciting, but Scar's, I think, a decent player. He's a major league caliber player.
But when Slater comes back, doesn't Escara go back down, or do you have one fewer pitcher?
Well, I don't think you have one fewer pitcher. I wonder if who would you send down? Volpe. Who would you send down? Yeah, I mean, you're not sending down Caballero. Yeah, Dominguez hasn't been playing very much. I don't know. I think it's probably Escara, because if this decision could have been made 2 weeks ago and Escara could have been up. But I think Austin Slater would actually get real at-bats for this team, and I think that we've actually seen the White Sox even did this. The Yankees kind of get exploited by lefty relievers because they just have so many lefties in the lineup, and that's why they traded for Rosario and Slater. Yeah, it might be Escara going down. I don't know. I mean, Paul Blackburn and Ryan Yarbrough are kind of, you don't really need both of them. So maybe you get rid of Blackburn. I don't know. They luckily haven't been in a situation where you've really, been nervous about catcher. But yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I'm not sure.
Are you in favor of the rule, how many years ago it was, where they limited the amount of guys you could call up?
I mean, yes and no. Like, yes, it's like clearly the right decision, right? Like, it was ridiculous having the full 40
men.
It was ridiculous because teams started to use it, right? Like back in the late 2000s, you had 40 guys get called up, and like realistically, they'd use like 3 guys. But then like the Rays would use like 15 relievers in a game, and it was ridiculous. And you had to limit it. I just kind of liked it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed having, the blowout lineup, which was like 7 prospects. I enjoyed having the last game of the season where it's all guys, I did enjoy that part of September, but it was a little silly. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree. Sometimes you have to make rules, and because of the fact that people find, shall we say, inefficiencies or something, ways to get around the spirit of the rule or the law. And so then you say, well, all right, they're not doing anything illegal.
Yeah.
They're playing by the rules.
Yeah.
But
I would love to have like a big taxi squad, but then of course you have the reliever problem, right? Is that you'll end up essentially making it into a game of relief pitching. I'll tell you, I don't go to that many major league games anymore, just because I find it very boring to watch in person. Because I like watching a pitcher's duel on TV, because I can see the stuff. I see the box. I see where the pitch is. Right? I can think about that. When I'm up in the stands, like, I can't see any of that. And in fact, for this game, for the Sunday game, the scoreboard was out.
Oh no!
Right, so I didn't even know like the count. Like half the time, I lost track of the count, how many outs there were. At one point, I thought it was the wrong inning. Like it was a little problematic. And so but when there's contact, the game is fun. Like I love watching. Like I have so much more fun watching like a tough play, or even just like a routine double or something in the field, because there's just so much that goes on that you can't see on TV that I love. I mean, you have all these observations that you don't see on TV as you watch players go, and you just don't get that on. You only get that if you have contact, if you have low strikeouts, not allowed through true outcomes. If you have relievers coming in every mid-inning, that slows the game down tremendously. This is actually a pretty fast game, all said. But I've just been to so many games that were just like nothing. I couldn't see anything happening. I was just kind of chilling in the ballpark, and it's not really what I want to do.
Right. If you go to the game, you want to see a good ball game, no doubt.
I want to see action. Right? I want to see kinetic energy, and not 15 strikeouts.
And 4 home runs and 12 walks.
Right. Like I want to see some stolen bases. I want to see some singles. I want to see some great fielding plays. There were some really actually in this game.
Do you bring the infield in? Is it going to bunt? What do you pinch hit here?
I mean,
I think the extra
the
base.
Saturday game would have been fun to watch in person, right? That 10th inning was actually kind of crazy. But so I still hope Major League Baseball is trying to get more contact into the game. It feels like they've given up on that a little bit.
My last question of the day, EJ, is the Tuesday discussion for tomorrow. Then maybe you might have some things, or we cut it a little short today. Either way is good for me. The question that I'm posing to my writers is if you could go back in time and witness any Yankee event in history, you could see only one. But you could see it. What would it be?
I mean, like there's obvious, like there's like old ones like the called shot and stuff.
That's mine. I want to see it.
It's interesting because it wasn't on TV, right? And so you're witnessing something you never could have witnessed. I don't have a single event. We can go point to a couple of World Series. I would love to have seen Ricky Henderson play. And so I would love to go see some Ricky Henderson games in the 80s. And that is still one of those little like pieces of my baseball lexicon that I'm missing.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And Ricky was fun. He was an absolute joy. Loved him as a Yankee. I remember, again, I've told the story when he got traded. It was very upset in 1989. I didn't understand the trade. I didn't understand who they got. Like, you're trading Ricky Henderson and they got nothing. And that was very frustrating because he was, he was great. The one year he sat out a whole bunch because he had a hamstring problem or whatever, but then he played for another 15 years. And the Yankees were saying that, oh my God, he
could have been on the 90s teams.
He could have been.
Right. He could, you could imagine.
And you know what they didn't really have? A left fielder.
He could have been in the Tim Raines role or something.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. And so that's on my list. Yeah, of moments. Like I would love to go back and relive some of the moments that I saw as a kid, but I couldn't truly appreciate. Right, because I was I was born in 1987. Right, so I was 11 years old in '98. I remember the 2001 World Series better than even the ones they won. Just because I was a little older, I was in high school, or I was about to. I think it was my first year of high school. And I was closely following it. And so I remember every little beat of that playoff. But I don't remember really anything about the 99 Yankees. I remember I was at a couple of the World Series games in 98. So I remember those games pretty well. So I'd love to go back and experience those teams. Maybe the 96 Yankees. It's a kind of a fun team. Go experience the 96 Yankees, kind of knowing what I know now.
Derek McAdam, one of our writers, wrote the thing he most wants to see, wishes he could see, is one of my favorite moments that I was actually there for, the Joe Girardi triple. And
yeah.
I used to have a picture of that up in my office when I was the vice principal of Pompton Lakes High School. I got it off the internet.
I got one. Here's one. So the 2003 game, the Aaron Boone game against the Red Sox, I didn't get to watch it in person. It was the first night of the New Jersey Devils season. They were hoisting their Stanley Cup banner, and we were there for that. Or maybe it was a division. I forget which night that was. But they all we had, because cell phones at the time. The only updates we had were they put the score like on the out of town scores, and so you saw all the things that happened. Or was that the Aaron Boone game? There's the one where Posada hit 2 home runs against Pedro. Whatever that game was, I forget that. Maybe it was the Aaron Boone game. I forget. I missed that game, and I think I would have loved to have seen that live.
That game was amazing, and if you think about it, the Yankees acquiring Aaron Boone. You might disagree with part of this, but part of this is absolutely true. They win the playoffs against the Red Sox in 2003. Then they blow it in 2004. But Boone, over that winter, goes and plays basketball and wrecks his knee. And then he tells the Yankees, I did the wrong thing, showing that he's an honest guy. And you wonder if that plays a role in the Yankees eventually hiring him as the manager. But
maybe.
even outside of that, and I think it did. I think that home run and the way he approached that played a role. But if he doesn't get signed and then he doesn't wreck his knee, the Yankees don't get A-Rod.
And I wonder if that's a good or a bad thing. Right?
That's what I'm saying. It's an interesting thing.
A-Rod had his first 5 years-ish with the Yankees were incredible, right? He had the 2 MVP awards. I don't know what the 05 and 07 teams would look like without him or with somebody else there. I don't remember if there was another third baseman they could have gone out and gotten. He was pretty good in those other years, 04, 06, 08, 09. He had a good year and a good playoff. And then they made the mistake of
extending him,
right? He opts out. It was the first real opt-out I ever remember. And he's older at the time. I forget, he's like 30, but he's coming off a great year. And, they signed him to another 10-year deal. And that was a bad deal. That was one of the worst deals, maybe the worst deal of Brian Cashman's tenure. And, I get it. Like, again, he was coming off, a streak of excellence. He was looking like one of the best players of all time at that point. We also didn't know he was going to have a steroids issue. Maybe that was related to that. Or maybe he did. I don't know. Then you think about what do those kind of mid-2010s team look like if you don't have a couple of really big albatross contracts around your neck. If you don't have A-Rod getting paid a ton of money, Mark Teixeira getting paid a ton of money toward the end of his contract, Jacoby Ellsbury, even though that contract got voided, that was kind of weird. Sabathia, another guy who opted out. They only gave him 1 extra year, so it wasn't a disaster like A-Rod's contract. There's a lot of really dead money that was on that team, and I think that you could have brought back Cano had you not had all that dead money. Maybe you could have built gone out and gotten Bryce Harper, whatever, right? Like there's a lot of what ifs there that I think the cardinal sin kind of underlying it all is A-Rod's contract. And this isn't to talk about A-Rod's kind of, the drama, the off-field stuff that I think it was kind of overblown. But the 2010s, A-Rod was bad. He was just really I'm not gonna say he was bad. He was not worth the money, and he was a problem. He was like a problem on the roster and couldn't stay healthy toward the end of it. He was in his late 30s. That's normal.
And a distraction.
It was a distraction. I think
he and Jeter didn't get along, and more come out about that. That was not the greatest clubhouse and the greatest environment within which to play.
And you're the steroid stuff, but even in 09, 10, he was a 4-win player those years. He missed a bunch of games. Never really had a healthy season until 2015 under that new contract. It was just, those were not fun teams to watch. Mm-mm. They were bad. They were mediocre teams in the most frustrating way, in that they didn't feel like they were progressing toward anything. And I think A-Rod's contract was the biggest reason for that.
Don't disagree. All right, EJ, do you have anything for me? You have any thoughts?
Let's see. Do I have any thoughts? Here's one. So there's a wonderful video that baseball YouTube channel called Made the Cut made about Ben Rice. And it was asking a question that I've asked, that others have asked. Ben Rice has these crazy StatCast numbers. I don't know. Can you bring up his StatCast page real quick? It's a fun one to look at. It's a beautiful page. And the question is, okay, his real numbers are good, but they're 30th best in the league.
Are you sharing them with me, or am I getting them?
Can you bring them up? It's easier for you to share your screen, I think.
I'll have to get them then. All right, hold on. You want me to go to StatCast?
Yeah, well, here, I'll do it real quick.
All right.
So Rice, here, let me share my screen right here, because I just think these numbers are so much fun to look at. Right? If you look at this StatCast page, you are looking at a Juan Soto, Aaron Judge level hitter.
Look at all the red.
98th percentile in xWOBA, right? 293 expected batting average, 95th percentile, 576 expected slug, 94 mile per hour exit velocity, really good barrel rate, incredible hard hit rate. I think that all jives with the player we watch, right? I'll tell you one thing, looking at him in person, I don't think I've ever seen Ben Rice play in person. He's a big dude. I mean, you could tell from the upper decks, like this is one of the biggest players on this team. Look bigger than Paul Goldschmidt. Look like a bulked up guy. It's impressive they still playing catcher and still running pretty well, given that. But you look at these numbers and you go like, this is a player who should be better than an 817 OPS, right? I mean, his numbers are merely good, and the question was why, right? And there's a well-known type of player that underperforms their expected WOBA, and those are players that hit the ball to center field. So if I go look at Juan Soto's numbers, Juan Soto has underperformed his expected WOBA every single year. So right this year, his WOBA is 383, his expected WOBA is 440. Last year, 40-point difference. The year before that, 10-point difference, 25-point, 9-point. Right, like this is a thing that's very consistent for Juan Soto, and the reason is that if you look at a spray chart, the spray chart here is just his hits, but if you look at his outs, he makes a lot of outs to deep center field. And there's other players like this. Judge, for instance, underperforms his expected WOBA, which is off the charts crazy, or up until this year at least he did. And that was because he had a lot of long fly balls to center field, and that's impressive. But those count the same as a pulled home run. And a pulled home run you don't have to hit as hard. And so the equally hard hit ball that's pulled has a higher expected outcome than a ball to center, to up the middle. So it's kind of the reverse of the advice you often give players. And if you look at Ben Rice, though, doesn't have that. Ben Rice is a pull hitter. He is a real normal pull hitter that like Cody Bellinger, like Isaac Paredes, like Jazz Chisholm, a lot of guys who outperform their expected numbers because they're hitting the ball down the line, so a not so hard hit ball goes out.
So what's the reason? What conclusion are they drawing, or are you drawing?
I think it's luck.
Just bad luck.
It's just bad luck, right? Like I think that if you look at all of the other players who have a similar, he has the second highest gap between WOBA and expected WOBA in Major League history, or in Statcast history, so since 2015.
And who's number one? Do you
Juan
know that?
Soto this year? Actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And if you look at that, and you look at the other players who are up there, all the other players that are up there are not pull hitters. They're up the middle hitters. So there's not really an explanation. He's not slow, so he's not losing a bunch of doubles to singles or getting thrown out where he shouldn't have been thrown out. Like Stan has underperformed. I think that might be part of it. You just like there's not there no one I have not found an explanation for this. And this video by a non-Yankee fan is like, I think he's just getting unlucky. And that's really good, right? That's a sign of like, wait a second, maybe Ben Rice is like the MVP level hitter, especially
next year.
Catching. I mean, he's catching, right? I mean, if Ben Rice puts up those numbers, but his luck, even if it regresses halfway back, right? If it regresses halfway toward his expected numbers, then that's a 900 OPS hitter, right? That's incredible as a catcher, and something I think has looked pretty decent as a catcher, or at least a part-time catcher. I think it's really good news, and it's good to see. As a fan, you always worry about motivated reasoning, right? You worry that you're seeing something in Cam Schlittler that others aren't. And then you look at Cam Schlittler's numbers and you're like, maybe I'm overrating him a little bit. It's good to see someone external who doesn't have a dog in the fight go like, I think Ben Rice is really, really good. Volpe, Dominguez, Wells, they're all struggling to hit in the major leagues, and they're all major league players, but it doesn't look like any of them are on track right now to be stars. We'll see with Dominguez, but I'm concerned there. I think Ben Rice is a star, and that's the Yankees haven't had a real durable young star since Judge and Sanchez, and that'd be nice.
That'd be great. That could be a big
Huge
boost to the team next year, and a big boost.
Yeah.
I guess you know what? Anything can happen in a short series, and so you just get a little lucky, and all of a sudden you've got yourself a World Series MVP on your hands.
I'll tell you one thing that encourages me about Rice is that he put up the normal numbers in the minors. Right, he put up like great regular stats in the minors, not just Statcast stats. So something was he was doing the same thing in the minors, but balls were flying. Maybe there's a world where he's like really easy to defend, but I don't know. Like I think that that we have not a maxim, an idea called Occam's razor, that the explanation that requires the fewest number of assumptions is probably the right explanation, and the fewest number of assumptions for Ben Rice is like, hey, he's just getting unlucky. Like, it happens.
You made me think of something, EJ. Occam's razor. I thought you were going to grow a beard.
I was going to grow a beard before my first day of class last week. My wife politely told me I should probably shave it.
This happens, right?
She said the time to experiment was a few months ago, not now. So the beard is done for the semester. Maybe we'll bring it back this winter.
All right. I hope that you're teaching in the fall and the spring semester too. Yes.
Yep.
All right.
So I got a month, right? I got a month to grow it. That was my 2-week beard or week beard.
The December through mid-January period.
There might be a December through mid-January. There might be a Christmas beard. We'll see.
We'll see. All right. Well, that sounds good. EJ, I think we're going to wrap it here. We're going to say a great job as always. Thank you again. Thank you to all of those who watched. Remember, my dear friends, if you're going to add comments and they make no sense or they're just trolling, then we're not going to put them up. And you could say the Yankees stink because of X, Y, and Z, and EJ and I might even agree with you. But if you're just going to say Yankees stink, well, okay, fair enough. You don't have to like the Yankees. I still like the Phillies, but that's a whole different story. All right, my friends, have yourselves a wonderful day and a wonderful week. Let's go Yankees.